Hi, 8th grade. Welcome to Lesson 2-2, Solving Equations with Variables on Both Sides. Remember, last lesson was about solving an equation with a variable on one side, so we're just taking it one step further today. By the end of the lesson, I want you to be able to say, I can solve equations with variables on both sides of the equal sign. So let's solve and discuss it. Jackson and Brian collected an equal amount of money during the car wash, so the amount of money they collected was equal to each other. Okay. They collected cash and checks as shown below. If each check is written for the same amount, X, what is the total amount of money collected by both boys? Explain. So we see Jackson has $15. He has a 10 and a 5. And then let's count to see how many checks he has. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So he has 14 checks. We don't know how much each check is worth. We just know that it's worth X amount. Now, Brian, he has a 20, 2 10s, and 2 5s. So it's 20, 30, 40, 45, 50. So Brian makes $50 and has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 checks. So plus 7X. Okay. Now we need to get the x's on one side and the numbers on another. So we can subtract 15 from both sides. So remember, inverse operations cancel out. We're left with 14x equals 50 minus 15 is 35 plus 7x. Now I want the x's on the same side. So subtract 7x. And we get 7x is equal to 35. In order to get x alone, we divide by 7. So x equals 6. So each check is worth $6. What expressions can you write to represent the amount of money collected by each boy? How can you use these expressions to write an equation? Well, we did it right up here. Jackson's expression is 15 plus 14x. Brian's expression is 50 plus 7x. We set it equal to each other and solve. Example number 1. Solve equations with fractional coefficients. Coefficients, this is one of our vocab words. Coefficients just mean the number in front of a variable. Make sure you write that down. So Jonah and Lizzie are making smoothies that have the same number of fluid ounces. Jonah uses 4 containers of yogurt to make a smoothie. Lizzie uses 2.5 containers of yogurt to make her smoothie. How many ounces of yogurt X are in each container? So one way to do it is to use a bar diagram to represent the situation. So we see that Jonah's smoothie is 4X. Lizzie's smoothie is 2.5X. With 6 ounces of juice added and 12 ounces of juice added. I prefer to use the equation way. So we know Jonah's smoothie is 4x plus 6, and Lizzie's smoothie is 2.5x plus 12. To solve for x, we need to get the x's on one side and the constants are just numbers, on the other. So 2.5x and 4x. Well, they're both positive, which means to get rid of one of them, we need to use the inverse of positive, which is negative. So we can either subtract 4x from both sides or subtract 2.5x. They choose to subtract 2.5x because then we don't have to deal with negative numbers. So 2.5x minus 2.5x cancels out. 4x minus 2.5x gives us 1.5x. Now we have to move the 6 because we are trying to get x absolutely by itself. So we need to move the things that are close to it. So we're going to use what we learned last year, SADMAP. Okay, so what are we going to do first? The addition or the multiplication? Well, we're going to do the addition. So we do the inverse of addition, which is subtraction, to subtract 6. That cancels out. 12 minus 6 equals 6 on that side. Now, last but not least, they converted 1 1/2 into 3/2 by getting mad at it. So that's when you multiply and you add. 1 times 2 is 2, plus 1 is 3. So they got 3 halves. But remember last class, if we have a fraction next to a variable, the way to get rid of it is to multiply by the fraction flipped. Does anybody remember what that's called? The reciprocal. Okay, so the 2's cancel, the 3's cancel. Whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other. We can put the 6 over 1 and multiply straight across and get 12 over 3, which gives us 4, meaning there are 4 ounces of yogurt in each container. Let's try it. Class A was given a sunflower with a height of 8 centimeters that grows at a rate of 3.5 centimeters per week. Rate is one of our vocab words. Class B was given a sunflower with a height of 10 centimeters that grows 3.25 centimeters per week. After how many weeks are the sunflowers the same height? Remember, per always goes with the variable. So here we have something W plus 8. Well, that talks about class A. So on this side, it's class A, meaning on this side, it's going to be our class B. And we set them equal to each other because we want to find when they're the same height. So we already have the plus 8 because that's where it's starting from, but its rate is 3.5 centimeters. So I'm going to put 3 1/2. Then class B's rate is 3.25. So I'm going to put 3.25. Okay. So now in order to combine like terms, we have to get the W's on one side and the numbers on the other. So we're going to move our variable first, which means we are going to subtract 3.25 from both sides. These will just cancel right out. Well, subtract 3.25 W. We want the coefficient to come along the variable. So these guys will cancel out, which is why we're just left with 10 down here. And 3.5 minus 3.25, well, the 3's cancel. 1/2 minus 1/4 is just 1/4. So 1/4 W plus 8 equals 10. Now still trying to get W by itself. What are we going to get rid of first, the 1/4 or the 8? The 8. So we're going to subtract 8 from both sides. So that makes this cancel out. And we're still left with 1/4 W equals 10 minus 8, which is 2. Trying to get W alone, we got a fraction, so we're going to multiply by the reciprocal. So we flip that fraction, and we do 4 over 1. Multiply the 2 by 4 over 1. 2 over 1 times 4 over 1 equals 8 over 1. So the sunflowers are the same height after 8 weeks. How can you check your work to make sure the value of the variable makes the equation true? You can plug your answer in for the variable. That's called substitution. If we plug in 8 for W for both class A and class B, we should get out the same answer, which would be the heights. Example number 2. Teresa earns a weekly salary of $925 and a 5% commission on her total sales. 5% commission means she earns 5% of the money she sells. Ramon earns a weekly salary of $1,250 and a 3% commission on sales. What amount of sales X will result in them earning the same amount in a week? So Teresa has 925, so that's where that 925 comes from, and a 5% commission. Percent, change it to a decimal, it'll be 0.05, and X is how much she sells. Ramon's got 1,250, that's what he's starting with, and then the 3% commission. Same thing, percent, divide by 100, 0.03. To get X by itself, we're going to subtract both sides by 0.03x, so it cancels out here. And 0.05 minus 0.03 gives us 0.2. Then our next step is to get the 925 away from the x. So we subtract by 925, which means those will cancel out. Subtract by 925, we get 325. 0.02 is being multiplied by x. So in order to get rid of it, we need to use the inverse operation. The inverse operation of multiplication is division. So we divide by 0.02, and you should get x equals $16,250. So if they both sell $16,250, they will earn the same amount of money in a week. I want you to read example 3 on your own, but in the interest of time, I'm going to do this, try it with you. So we have 96 minus 4.5y minus 3.2y equals 5.6y plus 4280. First step is going to be to combine like terms. So on the left-hand side of the equation, we have a negative 4.5y and a negative 3.2y. I can combine them because they have the same variable. So that gives me 96 minus 7.7y equals 5.6y plus 42.8. Okay, we're trying to get the y by itself. We can either add 7.7y to both sides, or we can subtract 5.6y from both sides. Both answers, both ways will get you the correct answer, but I'm going to tell you it's easier to add 7.7y to both sides. Also, some people like to draw a line down the middle. I am totally okay with that. That's a good way to organize. Okay. So, negative 7.7y plus 7.7y cancels out because they're inverses. So we're just left with 96 on this side. So we get 96 equals, now 5.6y plus 7.7y is going to give me, let's see, 6 plus 7 gives me 13, carry the 1. This is going to be 13.3y plus 42.8. We are trying to get the y by itself. So what am I going to get rid of first, 13.3 or the 42.8? 42.8 is positive, so we're going to subtract it. Okay. These cancel right out, and we're left with 13.3y on this side, equaling, let me grab my calculator, 96 minus 42.8 to give me 53.2. Last but not least, still trying to get y by itself. 13.3 is being multiplied, so we're going to divide both sides by 13.3. So y equals 4. And that is our final answer. If you wanted to check, you could substitute it back in. All right, 8th grade, say it with me. I can solve equations with variables on both sides of the equal sign. Have a great day.